So, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, it is I, Scooter Dorn of Virtual Psychosis. We haven't had a podcast in a while, mainly due to scheduling conflicts. And Quode's going to be away for the weekend, and Slayer hasn't been online yet today, so I don't know if we'll get a podcast done this weekend or not. Definitely going to try to, but this is hopefully this is kind of a stopgap between the podcast this weekend and us not having any podcasts for the past couple weekends. I'm sorry about that, by the way. Just scheduling and a bunch of other things happened. Quode was gonna what we had the podcast scheduled 2 weeks ago, but unforeseen circumstances led us to not be able to record the podcast. So, and then the last weekend, this current last weekend, Quode got slammed with extra hours at work and he couldn't make it to the podcast. So basically, what I'm doing right now is I'm going to do another news brief to go over some of the things that I've just done in a quick news search that I want to go over. So first things first, I want to since I'm such an advocate against the current way that consoles are built. I'm not an advocate against consoles, but whatever. I'm not going to get too far into it. I just wanted to draw some attention to this website right here, which is the Xbox One's page that states Xbox has the best games. Lies. Or rather, that Xbox has the best exclusives. Now, I found this link through a news site. I think actually I found it through GameStop or GameSpot. Sorry, GameSpot's website. Best exclusives of the year. Lies. I just want to say Titanfall is for the PC and I think for the PS3. I don't know if it's for PS3 or sorry, not PS3, but PS4. But last I checked, I know it's for the PC because Slayer plays it on PC. So there's that. Watch Dogs is PC. Far Cry 4 also for PC and I think for PS4. So a lot of these games are not exclusives. I don't know why they're saying they are. I mean, I just don't like the way that they put this, I guess. It and I have a I have quite a bit of a bias here because I don't like Xbox at all. I I just don't. But anyway, this is the original article that I found on it. Um, I'll probably put the link in the description below. Another thing, though, I wanted to draw your attention to that I thought was really interesting is this video right here. 10,000 League of Legends games. What it looks like in 30 seconds. They time lapsed the player positions over 30 minutes of League of Legends games in 30 seconds. And this article is really cool. I'm going to definitely link the article and possibly the video if I can find the actual video link. I'm sure I can. Um, Very interesting. They also have. I'm not into MOBAs, but this is still interesting to me just because I like seeing this kind of stuff. So I think you might find it interesting. Now going into something that's far more meat and potatoes. Oh God, typo. IGN needs to work on that. That's okay. My inner grammar Nazi just popped up, but when you have that as a headline, that just disturbs me. But this is EA's new cash cow, Sims 4, and its new DLC. What I want to know, what I really want to know is, does one of the expansion packs include a pool? I think the Sims VIP probably does. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna like talk about the video and stuff. Like I said, this is gonna be a short news brief. A few of my initial. Just remember, these are my initial reactions. They are subject to change based on how situations develop and based on how my understanding of the situation changes over time. But these are my initial, my like, my first blush opinions of these situations. Another article that is interesting that you should probably check out is this article, which is what male game developers think of Gamergate. Gamergate is essentially what spawned, I think it was a slowly building thing within the gaming community, but it kind of hit a boiling point when the whole Zoe Quinn controversy happened, which it's basically, this had been getting to a boiling point. It had been building, a slow build though. And I think this would have happened if the Zoe Quinn thing hadn't happened. This would have happened sometime down the line, maybe in the next couple years, maybe longer than that. But the fact is, it happened now, which is this is basically about sexism and similar social things, issues that have been that are happening in the gaming community, as well as jumping in on the journalism side of it and how there's a conflict of interest between video game journalists and developers. And to some extent, this is true. And Kotaku is notorious for this. I just want to say notorious, like they're not notorious. I guess not notorious, but their reputation has already been not so good before this incident. But the Zoquin incident definitely lowered it quite a bit. Um, but mainly, I feel like this is a healthy development because with any social community, eventually something like this is going to happen. There's going to be a situation that like people are gonna jump in on, but I don't want to give too much of my opinion on this one way or the other. I don't know enough about the situation. I didn't cover the Zoe Quinn conspiracy thing. That was Slayer and Quode, and Slayer did mostly trolly things about it and has continuously done trolly things about it. So I can't really like those are the only that's the only exposure of it that I have. So I'm going to look into this more and maybe this weekend's podcast give a more detailed analysis of the situation. Till that happens, I'm not going to give too much of an opinion on this. I will say though that this is an interesting article. It's a view that you don't normally see. I feel like that's part of the problem is we're not seeing enough of the developer community. The developers themselves, we're not getting their voice as much. If we are, it's usually through like some EA voice box that's just hired as a PR rep, not the actual developers. Or when we get the like words from the developers, it's the developers, not a developer or a member of a development team. And I feel like we don't hear from them enough in this kind of thing. I'm glad that the Escapist did this piece. It has a companion piece that's also got a link to that's female developers make statements on Gamergate. You can just click on the link if you go to this one. If you go to this article, you can click on that article too if you're interested. And I just think it's an interesting look at how this community works. I think it's an interesting look at the developers and their views on us as a community. And I think that that is a beautiful thing because I think we need to get more communication. We need to foster communication between the developers and the community because I feel that the community as a whole with developers, it's a lot different than the standard movie community. It's a lot different than the cinema community. It's a lot different than the music community. I think, or at least from what I can see, maybe I'm more involved since I'm more involved with the gamer community. I know it a lot better, obviously, but I feel like we're closer to the developers, and I think it's partially because of the internet that we've got more communication with the developers. It fosters a lot of communication. I think that the problem is the tools are there for communication between the gamers and the developers of the games. I just don't think either side is using them quite as much and not enough. And the problem is the only people who are like the people who are mostly using it on the gamer side are usually either trolls or lowest common denominator whiners. I'm not saying I'm not saying as a whole that this is true, but from what I can see from like just looking at the feedback on most of the discussion forums that I've seen, it's mostly those two categories. Because most of the people, because if you're fine with it, you're not going to complain about it at a feedback thing. Because no one really goes to those feedback things and says, hey, you guys are doing a great job. There isn't really much that I think needs to change about this, maybe a few tweaks here and there, but otherwise, great job. I like how this is going. Most of the time, it's someone going, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, you're doing it wrong. This needs to be fixed now. Now. Not later. Now. I don't care if you're doing important stuff now. You need to fix this later. And I just turned into Cartman. I apologize for that. But that's basically how I see this. Either that or it's someone being blatantly trolly. I think that's a problem. But then on the developer side, you get situations like the Island Light fiasco or the Gary's day one Gary's incident fiasco, and things like that, where it's just a lot. It's a lot of miscommunication, and it's also a lack of willingness to communicate, especially on the part of the developers in those situations. And I just think that maybe there can be a way to foster the communication a little bit more. I mean, the tools are there. We have Twitter. We have there's lots of great ways to communicate through Steam, and I think a lot of the indie developers are starting to catch on to this. And Kickstarter has helped in that regard. I think Kickstarter is a good way to communicate too, just in a different way. I'll try to get. Actually, I'm going to make this a larger topic that I think would be great to discuss with the other guys in Virtual Psychosis. So I'm going to save the rest of my ramblings on this subject for later. But this is the quick overview of just stuff that I noticed today. It's not necessarily relevant, it's not necessarily current, but it's just hopefully a small blurb that you all will take an interest in on our channel. Um, Remember, Quode, Slayer, and I also have channels that we haven't posted on in a while, admittedly. You can catch us at Twitter at Virtual Psychos. You definitely suggestions for topics or things that you want us to look at. Just send us those things. Also you can also email us at the address virtual.psychosis.roundtable@gmail.com. Again, email your topics, feedback, things like that. Comment below, subscribe, like it if you like this, obviously. If you don't, then well, that's fine too. Other than that, this is Scooter Dorn. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen of the internet.